Thank you.
Cool. Okay. What it do, snackers and snackers? It's your boy Gage. We have a special edition here. This is a Loading Snacks coming to you with some Avengers 4 predictions. And as usual, I'm here, Gage. Coop is here, and Jokes is here. But we have a special guest. Brian is here from the Take Two podcast. So I want to give Brian an opportunity to tell everybody who he is and tell us about Take Two, what the podcast is, and so forth.
Gentlemen, what's going on? Like you just said, I'm Brian from Take Two podcast. We are a Hollywood film and review podcast. We give you all the latest news and reviews from Hollywood today. And then our Take Two, we've got 5 hosts. We kind of rotate around. So you get a different guy, a different couple of hosts each week. And we break down the latest movies that have just come out, the latest TV shows that have come out. We are also your official podcast for the CW network here in Washington, D.C. So all your superhero shows on CW, we're breaking them down. Supergirl, Black Lightning, etc. And then we have a couple of spinoffs. We've created a whole universe. We do a Take Two Spotlight where we do a filmmaker, just one specific actor, director, what have you, from birth until now, their entire career. We do Take Two Soundtracks where we take a movie and do just the soundtrack and break down all the songs and what it meant to the film. Then we have the realm of Take Two. One of our boys does just all your supernatural type movies, all your dragons and your fighting and things like that. So we have a little bit of a universe, but our regular show is more just about Hollywood movies, TV, and then the comics. We love all of our comic stuff.
Awesome. You guys do a little bit of wrestling too, right?
We got the wrestling boys. Take Two Takedown. They're gonna kill me for forgetting to mention them right there, but yeah, John and Craig, they're good, man.
It's cool. Yeah.
And speaking of getting me back, I fell off the wrestling a little bit, but then just listening to them chat about it, I was like, you know what? I ain't been into it since The Rock, but I think I'm going to come back now and try and catch back up.
I feel the same way, but I refuse. I'm out. I'm tapped out.
Guess what? It's the same storyline. It's all the same stuff. They just get different characters, but it's fun.
Right. That's right. All right. So look, first and foremost, thank you for joining us, Brian. We really appreciate it. I think we're gonna have a good time here. Coop, I'm just gonna let you
just let me have it, right?
Yeah, I'm just gonna let you dig a hole. I got a feeling like
deep hole, very deep hole.
Well, yeah. Well, we did get the trailer, which kind of it was a great trailer, but it didn't really have any of my predictions, but the movie is still coming soon, so maybe some of these predictions will still be true.
You have to change any of the predictions that you had set up for this evening after the trailer came out?
No, actually, one of them was like, okay, I was afraid to say one of my predictions, but then after the trailer and have a conversation, even with you, I was like, all right, yeah, this is definitely one that I'm bringing back.
Did you use me and I didn't know it? I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Okay. Well,
all right.
Let's get started.
So
I love Jokes just laughing in the Jokes is just subtly laughing in the back.
That's just how it happens.
Okay.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. All right, so we're just gonna start off with number 1. I'm gonna say that I think that Doctor Strange will play a very strong leading role in this movie, in Avengers Endgame. I say that because for him to be the one to predict, not to predict, but to see into the future and to know how things are going to go, I feel like he would kind of have to take the front run to guide everyone. All right, this has to go that way to make sure things go the way it's supposed to, because it was only one outcome for it. So he gave up the time stone. He told Tony, this was the only way. I feel like he would kind of have to take that leadership role, the fact that he can pretty much see the future at this point.
Jokes, I'm going to let you handle that.
I'm going to have to go with a big no. So,
okay.
So definitely the snapping, Doctor Strange, he got snapping. So I don't think we're going to see him. We may hear him talk about him, but I don't think necessarily his vision, naturally, if he told someone what it was he saw and how they would have won, I don't know if that would have really helped. Because if they would have said, oh, we went to this planet, we got this particular weapon that can kill Thanos in reverse time, I feel like that would throw like a let's switch over, a DC Flash wrench into the plan. I don't think that would, I don't think it would play out the way that it would.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't really think, because the only person, honestly, that even the ones that know about that prediction, they were all there on the planet with him, and with the exception of Tony and Nebula, they're dusted. So,
Well, yeah, that's true, but I'm saying along the lines of, if Doctor Strange said that this is the only way that this can happen, he knew that now he obviously knew that he had to get dusted from this happening. And I guess at this point he's like, all right, I just pray and wish that they're going to go the way that's supposed to. And then if or when he comes back, he was like, all right, now I need to let you guys know what I saw for this one vision that I had to make sure that, it goes the way it's supposed to.
that's one out of 14,605,000.
And he's the only one that knows.
There were a lot of options. I'm gonna, you know what? I mean, I don't necessarily. I mean, I think that he certainly, obviously, it's important what he saw, to the overarching storyline. With him taking a front running position in this film, I don't think is what happens, because I think that there's going to be a lot of focus on Cap, because I don't think he makes it. And then 2, Captain Marvel, because I feel like that's who they're passing the reins to.
Okay.
And so while I think that, and given what happened in the trailer, I also think that Scott Lang's, his role in this film is going to be the most critical role outside of the powerhouse as Captain Marvel. That's where I am on that.
Okay.
What about you, Brian?
I think, all right, so I initially agree with Coop. I agree that Strange saw the future and saw the only one outcome was to actually give up the time stone. The part I pause on there is that he said that before fighting Thanos, and then they fought him and they had him until Quill then, decided to punch him in the face and get emotional about it. So did Strange see that fight happening, seeing them mess up that fight, seeing Star-Lord, goof up and then get to that scenario, then having to give it up? I mean, that's, if that were the point, then why didn't he just say, okay, here, we'll just give you the stone now? But I if I were to pick a side, I would say I agree with you, Coop, that he thought the only one way we can do this is to actually allow the snapping to happen. And now is when we need to give a phone call to Captain Marvel to come save us.
I dig it.
Okay. Yeah.
What's next?
All right. Next up is, I know there's a lot of talk about, time travel, but I'm thinking maybe even parallel universes as well. Not necessarily time travel. I mean, multiverses is a big thing in comics, almost no matter what comic you're looking at, So maybe it's not necessarily time travel. Maybe it's just like the same time, but just in different dimensions and stuff like that. That's probably what we see. We see a different type of Cap. We see a different type of Iron Man, just to try to make things straight for what it needs to be for their universe or for their world.
Jokes?
Parallel universes possibly. Because definitely Scott Lang, just like you said, I feel like he's gonna be that key. And with the realm that he was in, there's the question of, is it gonna somehow involve time? I don't know specifically if we'll see an alternate dimension or an alternate version of him. Definitely time-wise, but I really don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know if there's going to be let's go back in time and tell ourselves that, what, the Thanos thing is going to happen, be prepared. Almost kind of say, let's get ourselves ready way back when, and so when the time comes. I really feel like the key to this is going to somehow be, it's going to be time, but it's just got to be the matter of how that's going to tie in all of it.
Right.
It's going to be, we're going to go back and we're going to plant something maybe to set us up for some type of victory. Is going to be, we're going to go back and we're going to change the events of how other things unfolded to prepare ourselves. It's just one of those things that I think we will see time. I definitely think it's going to be a time-oriented thing we're going to see.
Okay.
I mean, I kind of agree with what Jokes is saying. I mean, I think that we may get. I think Marvel is as a whole is looking to push the idea of alternate universes. Um, but I don't know we'll see a whole lot of that. I think there might be mention of it. Like even if it's just something kind of that happens in passing, like if Ant-Man happens to say, like, while he was in the quantum realm, he kind of saw other things or other versions of these characters. But I just think personally that if they try to do time travel and alternate dimensions, it's going to get too confusing for the viewer. Like I feel like that would be too much as it is. Like time travel can already be really tricky. And so I feel like if they don't approach this very carefully, it could get out of hand really quickly. So I think that the idea of doing both would really hurt it. And I'm pretty sure that time obviously is a thing. So like if you look at the trailer, that scene at the end of the trailer where you see Scott at the gate and Cap is asking, like, is this live? Like, are we watching this now? We technically don't know if like Scott Lang went into the past and went to the gate and said that and kind of left it as a message for them to find in the future, and it's not live. It could be that he actually did get out and he is there in real time. So it could be any number of things. The pocket dimension or the alternate dimensions thing, I think they'll mention because I think that's going to be important for Spider-Man coming forward. But I don't think it'll be a major thing in this film, especially if you add Skrulls into that and like who's actually who they are versus who isn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with you guys thinking that time is going to be the main factor here. I would guess more so than a different realm for sure. Unfortunately, in my own personal opinion, I never love when someone can just go back in time and fix it, because then what can't we fix? Let's just fly around the earth backwards a whole bunch of times and just reverse everything.
That's why the Flash will never get canceled, because they could just go back.
You just go back and fix their ratings, and then they're good to go.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think you're spot on. Like, I feel that the time stone will be the main feature that they focus on, something to that effect. But Lang coming out of a different realm, there's something like, I wonder if because he was in the realm when the snap happened, did that exempt him? And maybe he was able to see things differently because he was exempt from the snap. And are there other people that were exempt because they were in different realms that he can now pull from?
Yep.
I like that.
I like that theory.
Yep. All right. So next up, since we're on time a bit, I think, look, I agree with you, Gage. I don't think that Cap is going to make it.
No.
I don't think he's going to make it, but I think that, his exit has to be something epic. And I'm thinking that has to deal with time and somehow lifting Thor's hammer, getting Mjolnir in his hands and like getting one good hit on Thanos or on somebody. We already saw the little budge on in Age of Ultron. I think we get a full swing with the hammer this time.
Let me just make sure I before you get into this, I just want to make sure I understand what we're dealing with here. Are you suggesting that they may go back in time and have Cap get Thor's hammer before it was shattered, so that both his hammer and Stormbringer are both available to them to defeat Thanos? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah. And in some way, shape, or form, the Mjolnir is going to come back, and it's going to be in the hands of Cap. If maybe just once, maybe one good time, that final swing.
And you think it's going to kill him?
Maybe. I don't. Maybe.
Okay, Jokes. It's all you.
All right. So I don't quite think we would see that. Now, I'm gonna play both sides of this. Because they probably haven't experienced so much with involving time other than Doctor Strange, I believe they're not going to really know what the effects are if they go back in time, change something. Like, they may go back and get Thor's hammer, but because they get Thor's hammer, that may change the whole timeline involving Thor. Like, it's just things they don't know. Now, on the other hand, he could go back, get it, bring it to the present, and it doesn't change a thing. But I think that's one of those iffy kind of things they may come to terms with. So they may have a conversation about. Go ahead, Coop.
Well, because I thought about this a lot too. So with the thing I love the most about the time stone is that you can pick something and control the time of whatever that is, the person, the object, or anything. You know, so maybe somehow they use I can't even say the name right. Yeah, maybe they maybe they get to that time and they can just control what happened to it with just by focusing on that by itself, because you're able to do that. So I don't know,
Now,
it'll be cool if it could happen.
With that being said, how do you feel are they going to get the time stone? Because as of right now, Thanos still technically has all those stones on him. Now, granted, I know the Infinity Gauntlet's kind of trashed, but he still warped away after it was destroyed. So I feel like he may be able to do that. If only, let's say, Cap shows up, Thor shows up, Hulk shows up. We don't even know if he can turn into the Hulk as of yet. I'm pretty sure that Thanos would body them before they would even get close enough to take the time stone.
I mean, look. Okay, listen. I'm gonna tell you where I am. I like the idea of this theory. I do. I like the idea. It's not gonna happen. It's not even like it's not gonna happen. Because I mean, again, when you start playing with time and things like that, these things kind of get confusing and what have you. Like, Marvel has enough time dealing with time loopholes in their own thing. Hence the whole like the Spider-Man 8 years later thing. Like, there's enough of that going on. They could get the time stone if they can go back in time and use the time stone before Thanos had it. You know what I mean? When it was still just the Eye of Agamotto, when Doctor Strange had, you know what I mean, or something like that. Like, there's a possibility that they could do it in that way. I just feel like that's too much. And I would be pretty upset if this film turns into almost like one of those episodes of a TV show where it's just a bunch of flashbacks. Like, I would just hate for them to just be running back to old films the entire movie. Like, that would drive me nuts. So I like the idea. I'm still positive Cap isn't going to move forward. But look, it could just be he's like, I quit. You know what I mean? Mal. Yeah. Personally, I think he's a Skrull, and I think he's been a Skrull for a long time, and I think that's what's going to happen to him.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at on Cap.
I remember your theory. I
don't think it's going to have anything to do with Mjolnir or Stormbringer.
I agree with you. I agree. I think Cap is going to go. Unfortunately, though, because I really feel one last Cap movie, if they did the death of Captain America with Sharon Carter and passing on the torch onto either Falcon or Bucky, like they did in the comic, I feel like that would be a phenomenal film, especially since you've established that Red Skull is still kind of around, and you brought him back to then actually kill him off. I actually think that would be a phenomenal movie by itself, but I agree with all of you that I do think he's going to die, and hopefully it is epic in this movie.
It better be. Yeah. He doesn't have a beard anymore. It has to be epic. The beard's gone.
Actually, me and Jokes talked about that. And me and Gage, remember you talked about what may be in the trailer, what may not be in the trailer. Because last time, they kept some things out. And
that whole trailer might be fake.
Yeah, for all
the whole thing could be fake.
You will see none of that trailer in the movie at all.
And Jokes, I remember you said, he was like, yeah, maybe the beard is even actually really there. They just took it off for the trailer.
I saw an article saying it looked CGI.
It could totally be just to make fun of your thing from Justice League.
Yeah.
Totally.
If they could CGI a whole beard, but Justice League can't CGI a mustache, that'd be pretty funny. So speaking of deaths in the movie, I think one of the people who may or may not die, I mean, I'm not sure, but if he does die, I think Tony's gonna go and he'll probably sacrifice himself for Peter, for Spider-Man. I think they've built I think they built so much of a connection between Iron Man and Spider-Man that it kind of makes sense for him to give his life for him, you know, to see the growth of Iron Man. And Iron Man found Spider-Man, put him in this situation with Civil War, helped him at Homecoming, gave him like a real dad and son pep talk in Homecoming, and then to see how bad he felt when he actually, disappeared on his arms, like, you got to give this kid everything, you know? I just think that there's a connection there that may lead to Tony giving his life for that kid, for Spider-Man.
Yeah, I could see depending on how if the unsnapping is done for certain individuals, yeah, I could see something like that happening. Maybe Tony doesn't necessarily fully die. Maybe they do kind of like the end of Civil War 2, where like he's kind of in the suspended animation, whatever you want to call it. Like he's dead, but then he has like his virtual self, his virtual AI that technically is him. Because I mean, as of now, I mean, for Robert Downey Jr., we haven't heard anything about him being like, oh, this is going to be my last time playing Iron Man or anything like that. So, I mean, that could be one of those surprises. Like, I'm all for it. You know, if it's one of those, if that's going to be the type of surprise that we get, I mean, I don't think we'll see it though, because of the fact we all got that scare in Infinity War. Like when my man,
definitely,
when he got stabbed, my heart dropped. Like heart dropped. I was like, we kind of said Cap or Iron Man. It was like one of them's gonna go in this movie. We were wrong, but that was enough. And they probably wanted to experiment with people to see what would it be like if we went ahead and killed off one of the main characters. So had it not been, maybe that'll be a change. Maybe instead of giving up the time stone, he keeps it and Tony bites it there. And I don't know. That could change the whole fabric of everything.
That's
and then
true,
but that would be an interesting surprise though. That would be something. It's a bridge I would like to cross to see where it would take things. So that would also leave room for when new characters come in, you don't necessarily have some of these like a Iron Man, being in the way, trying to take the glory or doing all that. And then some point down the road, they can just say, hey, let's bring Tony Stark back. Boom.
I mean, look, I personally, I think while I agree with the idea of like that connection that they've used to kind of bring Spider-Man into the MCU and using, Iron Man, Tony Stark himself as like an idol / father figure for Peter, is important. I don't think it's that important. I don't think it's important enough for that to be the way that he goes. Like if Tony dies in this film, he either dies the way it looks like he's going to die in the trailer, or I think if he sacrifices himself, it has to do with Pepper more than it has to do with Peter, because everything, even in Civil War, when he said to Cap, we're taking a break, and that the whole thing is like, he's like, I signed the Accords because I felt like that might fix what's going on between me and Pepper. Like that, so that I could get a break. I could only go and fight when the government said I could go and fight. So Pepper has been the main reason why he's continued to do the thing she doesn't want him to do, is because he wants to make sure he protects her. And so with him in the trailer, leaving her a message and so forth, I think if he goes, that it is to protect her, over it being Spider-Man.
Okay.
I like it. I will say I've always been Team Cap the whole way. So I liked Iron Man, I enjoyed his character throughout. But, when they talked about the actors, Downey Jr., Evans, maybe their contracts are running up and maybe they're out, I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm good if Iron Man moves on. But when he got stabbed, I was like, oh, not Iron Man. Like it got me. I was like, oh, I didn't realize how much I loved Iron Man. And you just like at that point, I think it was one of those, don't know how good it is, so it's gone thing. Like I was like, oh crap. Like I didn't realize how much that would affect me. I lean more towards the Pepper Potts idea. I don't think he'll die in space drifting off. Same with Cap. If we're killing Iron Man, he's got to go out, with some type of big, huge, epic moment at the exact same time. I love that idea of him sacrificing for Parker, everything, that whole theory, I think, is strong. It would be very interesting if they build something around that. Plus, that would even add, we haven't really gotten the emotional Peter Parker yet, who's angry about his uncle dying, and where we've gotten in the previous versions of Spider-Man. This kid's still happy-go-lucky to a degree. So that might give him a little bit of that edge that Parker had for being angry at the world. Maybe you could then introduce it that way. So I actually kind of like that theory.
Yeah.
All right, I got a few yeses on this one. All right.
Don't let it go to your head now. Don't let it go to your head. I know you got another one over there.
Yeah, I got one more. And this is pretty strong right here. Okay. Gage, me and you, we kind of talked about this a little bit, slightly. You two jokes. I think that there's a bigger villain than Thanos. I think that Thanos isn't really. Obviously, everything that he did was a big deal, and you got to fix it, But we're talking about scrolls now, and with Kevin Feige saying that we're going to take more of the galactic side in the future movies. Like, I don't know. I really think that I'm not to say that they'll the first 5 minutes Captain Marvel punches Thanos. That's it. But I really think that there's something bigger than Thanos in the second film, and especially introducing the scrolls. Like Secret Invasion is one of my favorite comics ever, and the scrolls are a big deal. So I think it's just something more than what we think. It's bigger than Thanos.
No, I 100% agree with you on that. I think we're gonna get. I won't necessarily say there's another big bad villain that's going to be the catalyst for this movie, but we know at least for, I don't want to say next 10 years, at least I know for the next 5 years we're getting some more Marvel movies, at least that we have lined out. This could be the setup to start planting those seeds, kind of like how Thanos did way back when, to kind of lead up to that new super bad whoever it's going to be. But I think we could see, somebody else step in, say like the Living Tribunal or something like that, because I feel like the snapping has caused, this is something that's just total galactic proportions, and it's affected. Now all we've seen so far is what it's done on Earth and what it's done to those that were on Titan. We haven't seen what the snapping has done anywhere else. So
True.
That's valid.
Captain Marvel, for example, we know she's going to show up. We don't know who she may have lost, and she probably has no idea what has caused that until Nick Fury reaches out, and probably once he reached out and she tries to go back, who knows? Everyone with her probably disappears. Who knows? But just because I think this now is going to be such a galactic piece of it, we can see like that. Now, I would like to see eventually. It doesn't need to be right now. Like, I would like to see Galactus show up. I'm very disappointed at how we got him in Fantastic Four and just got him as a cloud and all that.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think that ever happened. I don't know.
All right, so let me say it this way. You know what? I would love to see Galactus show up. Now that's a big bad one right there. And I don't know. Yeah. It's going to take a universe full of people, superheroes, and all that to probably take him down. So
yeah, it's definitely more than Earth's mightiest heroes. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, obviously somebody else besides Thanos is the big bad in this film. And I think I don't think it's something as big and obvious as Galactus. Like, if they're gonna make the attempt to shoehorn the Fantastic Four into the universe, then you bring Galactus. If you're not doing that, right, and we know that Skrulls are getting ready to be something major within this universe, then I mean, I think that the bigger threat is that if the Skrulls are already on Earth and half of all life in the universe has been wiped out, if you undo the snapping, you put Skrulls back in play. Like, you put Skrulls that were removed back in play. So if at some point during this film they find out oh, this person was a scroll, this person was a scroll, or whatever. Whoever actually is aware, if they manage to undo it, or when they manage to undo it, also has to know, well, now we're putting scrolls back in play. It'll almost be like it didn't happen. And that could be the bigger threat, right? That, like, in order to undo what they really want to undo, because they want their people back, they may be bringing back people who aren't their people anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And technically, scrolls, a lot of times they take over, and there's another version that person still exists, right? And so could be that there are two Caps, could be one with a beard and one without, and one of them's a scroll. You know what I mean? So I do think that the overarching issue is going to be that there's a scroll, and I think if they do it right, partially the end game is a super scroll, and then I think you bring Fantastic Four in. And we don't worry about Galactus for quite some time.
So how much of the film do you guys think is going to be devoted to undoing the snapping? If that's even a part, like, in my opinion, the majority of this film, the first and probably second act, will be devoted to undoing the snapping, using the time stone, going back and what have you. But if we're adhering towards a bigger bad, bringing in Galactus, then, maybe we're not even focused on that. Maybe it's just a moving forward type thing. In my opinion, I think the crux of this film is going to be towards undoing it, but maybe you guys disagree.
No, I do. I think at least the first half of the film is going to be based on them. Yes, I think at least the first two acts of the first half of the film. I mean, they're saying that right now the final cut is around 3 hours. Ooh. So I do think that at least the first half of the film will be about trying to undo it. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to be able to. Could be they're trying to undo it and realize they can't. And then there's another threat, you know what I mean? Or something like that. But I certainly think they're going to spend a lot of time trying to undo it. Like when you hear in the trailer, when Black Widow says to Cap, this is going to work, right? And he's like, it has to, because if it doesn't, I don't know what I'm going to do, right? I almost want it to not work, because I want to see that Cap. Like, that's the Cap I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the Cap that doesn't know what to do, that perfect strategist. Like, that's one of his abilities, is the ability to strategize, kind of see everything that's at play. And right now he can't do that. And so when he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, I kind of want to see that Cap. And that could be the Cap that's reckless, that ends up dying. You know what I mean? Or something like that. So
yeah, I think similar. Like, I think a good chunk of it will be for that. I think a little small difference is, I don't want to say they're just going to flat out have to give up. But what I think is going to happen is they're going to realize they can't undo the snapping, but some other opportunity presents itself where they can bring individuals back. But say if instead of bringing back the 50% that Thanos wiped out, maybe it only turns out they can bring back 20%. But of course, they don't have any control over that 20% that comes back. And maybe this is where we see some of the heroes show back up. Now, obviously, we'll probably see, the big names, Black Panther, Spider-Man, the big ones show up. Maybe some of the others don't necessarily show back up right now, but then somewhere down the road, they do show back up.
Yeah, I actually like that. I like the fact that, hey, we have some, but not all. Like, we're still working on it type situation. So,
I mean, it could be that. I mean, we know enough to know right now that they're working on like miniseries shows for Disney Plus, right? That are going to have characters that we know have been snapped away or got choked to death, right? In the beginning of the film. So, like, it's in some way, shape, or form, either those stories have to be stories that take place before the snapping happened, or those characters are coming back, or those could be miniseries about how those characters come back, because it doesn't happen in the film. That's one of the beautiful things about the way that they seem to have been working this kind of stuff, is like they throw these little tidbits out at you that make it so every theory you have and anything you think of, well, yeah, but they could do this. Well, then they could do this. That's part of why I like this.
So wait, did you see in the director's cut that scene though, when he said that, he said no more resurrections unless I can give you a series on our streaming app?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
you must pay for this resurrection.
Right.
Exactly. Monthly, please.
Monthly payments.
The moment your credit card cannot get charged, he will turn to dust once more.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I mean, look, is there anybody who thinks that in some way, shape, or form, like Stan Lee is going to play a larger role in
Yes.
how this does or doesn't get undone.
I've been
Yes.
Like
wanting
just
that.
because they could.
I've been wanting that to be. I've been hoping he was a watcher or something. Like they just tied that all in at the end. It's like, yeah, you guys have seen me all these times. I've been watching you.
Yeah.
I've been making sure things are working out. But that would be an interesting thing, cool thing for them to do for him. No, he maybe, I don't know, maybe Deadpool shows up for a quick second and says, hey, that man right there can snap his fingers and everybody comes back.
Yeah.
And then he just says, oh no, that's not me. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a comment on YouTube about this guy's theory. He was like, what if like it ends with this just being Stan Lee's pitch to someone? All these films is just one big pitch. And they're like no.
It'll never work.
Get out of my office. Don't ever bring this to me again.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think you had some pretty good predictions there, Coop.
Yeah.
Certainly some things to think about and some things to discuss going forward. I'm sure at some point we're gonna have to revisit this, probably when the next trailer comes out, because it'll be so different. Like we're just all wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's totally possible that we're just all wrong. I'm hopeful that hopefully partially because they moved the film up again. Like I've been kind of thinking about the fact that they did that, and what the reasoning might be for it. It kind of makes me feel like maybe they just need it to be closer to Captain Marvel. Like it feels like they might overlap each other in the theater based on the release dates now. And I kind of feel like it's one of those things where they like, I think she's going to play a bigger role because they want you to remember like, oh yeah, we just saw this, and oh yeah, she's in this. Or if you go to see Infinity War, but you didn't go see Captain Marvel, you're going to go back to the theater and see Captain Marvel. If you go to see, Endgame because you knew what was happening in Infinity War, and you're like, who is that? Whereas, oh, that's the girl from such and such movie, and you go back and do it. Like, I just, I think there's something to that. It doesn't make sense to me that they moved it up without there being some other reasoning behind it. So, remains to be seen. But I dig the predictions. I dig the thought process behind them. What do you guys think?
They know that my wife and I just booked our anniversary trip for that weekend because that's our anniversary. They decided to put the film during that weekend on my way.
Happy anniversary!
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Guess what we're doing for our anniversary, honey?
Yep.
Dinner and a movie. Just like old times.
Exactly.
Right?
There you go.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, look, we're gonna wrap it up. You guys know you can find us all the time across social media at Loading Snacks. But Brian, one more time, let everybody know where they can go so that they can follow you guys across Take Two and so forth.
Yeah, I'm Brian Stever. You can follow me on socials, just Brian Stever, and then at Take Two Podcast. We spell it TOO because again, we do Hollywood film reviews, news, and our Take Two. So just your main socials, just all Take Two Podcast. You can find us Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Awesome. Right. Awesome.
Thank you guys for having me on. It's been a blast.
Hey,
can you guys hear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh, what?
A little shaky.
Uh-oh.
I can hear everything. But I mean, thank you, man, for stopping by. I really do appreciate it.
Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
That last trailer, you think that would be before the Super Bowl or will it be after Captain Marvel?
Ooh.
I
would hope, honestly, Captain Marvel. I think that would be the perfect after the credits type of thing. Don't give us too much. Just that little bit. Kind of like what they did at the end of, was that was that the end of Iron Man? One of the other Marvel movies when they actually showed the trailer for Avengers. Kind of similar to that. Honestly, I don't even want to watch another trailer.
I remember you said that you were just good with the teaser and we could just leave it exactly at that.
Yep, so, leave it at that, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. We'll be back with another podcast. See you guys later.